Hi, this is James CTwo. Welcome back to the latest in our series of tutorials. In today's tutorial we're going to look at creating a new entity inside Dynamics CRM 2015. The example we're going to use is that of a university who want to use the CRM to record instances of courses that they offer. Against each course they want to record the title, what level of qualification it is, what year the course represents, who the lecturer is and which students are attending that particular course. Now, an entity within Dynamics CRM is anything that you can see once you've accessed a work area. For example, if I go into sales, I can see accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities and competitors. They are all examples of entities within the CRM. Go ahead and create our new entity. We need to access the settings area and go to customizations or solutions. Now, the use of solutions is a good idea if you're going to make lots of changes to your CRM, lots of bespoke changes. What a solution is a place where you can package up all of your customizations into a single record which you can then deploy out to your CRM. If you're interested in the use of solutions, please just look up online. There are lots of articles out there, or we may indeed make a video on one in the future. For the purposes of today though, I'm going to just make my changes to the default solution, therefore I click Customize the System. Now that my customization window has opened, I'm going to maximize it. And if you look down the left hand side, we can see a few options. So if we look at the nav bar on the left, we can see components, entities, option sets, client extensions, web resources, processes, etc, etc. We want to create a new entity, so I shall click the little arrow to the left of entities, which will expand the list of entities. So we can see that in this setup there's accounts, activities, addresses, appointments and so on. I want to create a new entity, so I'll click entities. I can see my list of entities that are in the system in the main window, and I click new to create a new one. Now I'm going to choose course as a display name. I have to define what the plural is, and for ownership or team I need to decide who do I want to be recorded in my system as the owner of each record. Do I want that defined by user or team, or do I want the organization to be the owner of each record? I want each user to be responsible for courses, so I'm going to leave that as user or team. My new entity is not an activity entity, so I'm not going to select that. If need be, I can also select a color that I wish my entity to be, so I can type in the hexadecimal reference or the RGB numbers, put them in here, and I can change the color of my entity when it appears in my nav bar. I can give it a description. Now, I also want to define which work areas my entity will appear in. In this setup, I want it to appear in the service area, so I can highlight that. If I wanted it to also appear in sales, I can multi-select, but in this case I only want it to appear in service. I can then save my entity. Okay, now that I've created my entity, I now need to create fields which can be associated with the entity. Now, one option is to go to the list of fields on the left hand side. Underneath the entity, I can go to fields, and when I click on that, it'll list all the fields that are already on the form. A few will have been generated by the system. So I can go in here and I can click new, which will then create new fields for me. I find it easier though to create the fields while I'm creating the form. So I'll go to forms. Again, some will have been automatically generated by the system when we created the entity. I want to use the main form. I'm going to highlight that, double click to open, and I can open it in edit mode. So what I can now do is I can see the form in edit mode, and I can start making new fields and applying them to the form. So at the moment I have the name for my record. I don't want it to say name though, I want it to say course title in the label, so I can change that. I have a few options for the formatting of the field. So do I want it to be read-only, locked on the form? Do I want to make it visible by default? I want it to be available when someone accesses a record from the phone. Well, I want that to just remain as it is. So now we have a field that says course title, which is mandatory and is locked on the form. The next thing I want to define is whether or not this course is an undergraduate or a postgraduate course. So for that I need a new field. So I'll click on new field in the bottom right hand corner. And what do we want the display name for this to be? Well, I want to call it qualification level. And notice the CRM takes your display name, removes any spaces, and anticipates that that's what you want the name for your entity to be. You can change it, but it does anticipate this for you. We can then set our field requirement. Is this an optional field, business recommended or business required? I'll leave this as optional for the time being. Is it searchable? Do I want to enable or disable field security or auditing? I want to leave them as is at the moment. And then we can scroll down and we can define what type of field we want this to be. In this case, I want this to be a Boolean option of undergraduate or postgraduate only. So my data type is two options. Field type is simple, and the two options at the moment are no and yes. I want no to be changed, so I'll highlight it and click edit, and I want the value of that to be undergraduate, and I want yes to now say postgraduate. I can define the default value, and then I can save and close. Now, there are three options for save here. You can save your record, save and close, or the third option is save and new. So I'll click that because I want to go on and create a new additional field. This time I want to record against the course which year this relates to. So again, we have our options for requirement for the name. I want this to be an option set. I can scroll down and I can start to assign my option set values. Now, there isn't a facility here that I can use option sets that are reusable. So if I click yes there, I can see my list of option sets which already exist in the system. I can go ahead and use one that's already been used. None of mine fit, so I'm going to create a new one. By doing it this way, by highlighting use existing option set and then clicking new, I'm actually going to create a new existing option set. So this one can be reused again and again and again. If I didn't want to do that, I can simply click no and define it here. But I want to reuse my option set later. So I'm going to click new. I want my option set to be called course year, and I can start assigning my values to my option set. So I hit the plus icon here, give it a label of year 1, add another. And when I save and close this, as well as using this option set in this field, it's now available for me to use in another field on another entity if I wished. So that's us define the year. I also want to record who the main lecturer for this course will be. This time, this is going to be a lookup, because a lecturer is a defined user within our setup of CRM. So I want that to be a lookup. I want that to look up to our list of users, and I can then define my lecturer to my course. When I go to fill that field in, we will see this later on when I demonstrate it, I simply click in there and I can look up to our list of users. That returns us to our form editor. We can see all of our unused fields are shown on the right hand side. If I want to then apply them to my form, it's simply a case of clicking and dragging them to where I want them to appear on the form. So I want my form, I want the first field to be displayed as a course title, so that is as shown. I want the next one to be shown as a qualification level. So I'll highlight that, drag it across, and I'll place it between course title and owner. I then want the course year to be displayed, and so on, and I can build it up as I wish. So another requirement of our form is also to show which students have enrolled on this particular course. Now this is done by inserting a subgrid, and a subgrid shows you a list of related records on a form. However, in order to show that, there must be a connection, there must be a relationship between the two entities. So between my course and my students, I need to create a relationship. We do that back in the Customize the System area under our entity. So I'll go to course. I can see a list of the types of relationships, so the one-to-many relationships, many-to-one, and many-to-many. In this case, I need to create a many-to-many relationship, simply because there can be many students on a particular course, and there may be examples of students being on more than one course, so there needs to be a many-to-many relationship to allow those to be set up. So I'll click on many-to-many relationships, and here, where it says new many-to-many relationship, I click that, and this allows me to set up the relationship between my course and my students, and my students are recorded in our setup as contacts. Now that our relationship has been created between our contact and our course, I can then go back and insert my subgrid. I'll go back to the form, and now I want to place my subgrid under here. So I need to insert a new section, and in my section I want to put a subgrid. My subgrid is going to be called Enrolled Students. I want the label to say the same. Now, I can set up my grid to show only related records, so that would show students who are enrolled on this course, where there's a connection between the course and the student. I could choose to show all students on the record, but that doesn't suit our setup, so I'm going to leave it as only related records. What entity am I looking at? Well, it'll be contacts. And which view do I want to use? Well, I want to look at active contacts. I'm going to set that so I can see now I have a subgrid of enrolled students underneath the course title, the qualification level, the course year and the lecturer. So what I'll do now is go ahead and save my changes, and before this goes live and can be used by other users within your CRM, you must publish it. And now we can go in and see how that looks to a user. And now to demonstrate how that would seem to a user of your system, we'll navigate to the service area, because that's where we put our courses. We can see the icon for courses is now on the right hand side, so if I go there, click on that, I can now add a new course, which will display our form that we've just created. So this course title I'm going to call Pharmacy Year 3. What course year is it? Well, that'll be Year 3. Who's the lecturer? So now this is where I was talking about the lookup to the user. I click on that and I'll say that it's Guy Anderson as the trainer for this record. I can save my record, and now that I've saved it, I can go ahead and add my enrolled students. I'll just say all 13 of these contacts are students. Add them, and there we now have in our system a record that we have a course title called Pharmacy Year 3, which is an undergraduate course which is delivered to Year 3 students. Guy Anderson is the head lecturer, and there are the 13 students who are all on the course. So hopefully from this video you've got an idea of how simple it is to create new entities. In our example we used a university, but do remember each business, each organisation will have its own unique system in place which will monitor different functions. You'll need different entities, but hopefully today's video has given you a good idea of how easy it is to set up entities and make them available to your users. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd be interested in our free trial, simply click our link. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.